Hi, everyone. Welcome to mini course number 1 of a 4 series here that we're going to get to you. And it is the blind spots holding you back self-awareness segment. And like I said, there are 4 of these mini courses that I'm going to get to you. Right now, we're focused on number 1, which is self-awareness. It's the first step in elevating your emotional intelligence. So it makes sense that it would be number 1. My name is Jade. If you haven't met me before, I'm a rational emotive behavioral techniques coach and consultant. So I help people create and cultivate the career that they want and reach their career goals through replacing disruptive behaviors with constructive ones. Now, enough about me. Let's get into what I'm here to give you today and kind of the expectations. So I'm going to try and keep this to 30 minutes. Typically, my courses are an hour long or 3 sessions long, which ends up being about 3 hours, but I'm going to try and keep it 30 minutes for you today, okay? And the main focus of what we're going to get out of today, or what you're going to get out of today, is really why most managers, or you could replace that with leadership or owners, fail to recognize their own behaviors and how this limits their leadership effectiveness. Okay, so I want to give you some perspective here so that you can really start to elevate yourself and your self-awareness specifically. All right, so let's get into this piece here. And let's make this a little bit bigger for you. So I always like to start off, if I can, by asking a question, okay? And I really want to help you figure out why your biggest leadership challenge is, in fact, you as a leader. Now, keeping in mind, I've been in leadership management positions for over a decade. And every time I would enter a job, I would quickly move up the ladder. Like within the probation period of 3 months, I would be offered a management or leadership position. So I really have a good sense of how to move myself along, and I can help give you that information too. But in order to do that, you have to start realizing the role in which you play in creating challenges with your leadership skills. And the way you do that is by asking yourself this question. So, have you ever wondered why some situations seem to repeat themselves no matter how hard you try to change them? And I really want you to take a moment and think about that. Think about those situations. Some managers or leaders will refer to them as like daily fires that you're putting out, right? Because that can typically be a lot of what you do in a day. What are those repeat fires? What are those repeat situations that come up again and again and again that keep having to be put out? That even though you put your best skills to the test, even though you're a really good manager, a really good leader, you still find that whatever you do, this issue seems to arise again and again and again. So ask yourself, what is it? What are the repeat things? I'm sure as you're sitting here and thinking about this, you're starting to pick up or think about some of those specific things that might be coming up for you on a regular basis. And you could think about this in a few different ways. You could think of those repeat things that come up daily, right? Those repeat situations that come up weekly. Maybe they're biweekly, maybe they're monthly, maybe they're quarterly, but it's a situation that's large enough that even if it comes up quarterly, it still takes a lot of effort to deal with it. So it would be best if it could just go away altogether, right? So really start to think about, what are the repeat things that keep happening time and time again? Now, little insight here. There's a hidden problem, and for the majority of us, for many managers, a lot of us can assume that it's external factors, right? Factors that are maybe out of our control, team issues that we feel like might be out of our control, market conditions, or even company culture that we just feel like we don't have an impact on. And we might feel like these are the biggest obstacles that are coming up and keeping us from having success. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case, that there is a blind spot that we have that is causing these issues, and they're not so external and they're not so far out of our reach. And what that is actually our own blind spot when it comes to self-awareness, right? When we are lacking in self-awareness, it can keep us from recognizing the real issue, which are our own patterns of thoughts and behaviors that impact these things. And as a leader in a company or a business or a leader of a team, it is us first and foremost that need to be aware of our own thoughts and patterns and the impact it has on our team around us. And if we have some pretty severe blind spots and we cannot see and or understand that our behaviors have a big effect on our team, then we're going to continue to have repeat issues coming up, even after we feel like we have solved them or resolved them. All right, clipping along here. Okay, so what is the cost of this? If we continue to have these blind spots, what is the cost of having this poor self-awareness? Because if we can continue on like this, I mean, we could still be in this position of leadership and we could still be in this position of managing people and continue to trek along and make no changes and choose not to grow our self-awareness. But what is the cost? What are the things that are going to happen in our workplace environment that we are supposed to be taking the lead in? And what are we going to continue to experience time and time again? Well, I'm going to give you some of the common signs of low self-awareness and kind of the results or the outcomes that are going to happen when we continue to operate at the same place that we are and we don't actually elevate our self-awareness. So the number one thing for leaders and managers is that you're gonna continue to feel misunderstood or frustrated when your team doesn't respond in the way you expect them to. So you're gonna continue to bring things up, you're gonna continue to move forward in giving direction, and you're gonna continue to have instances where you feel like you've done a great job at conveying this information and you expected everybody to respond to you in a certain way, and they don't. You may feel like, for whatever reason, even though you've explained yourself really well and in great detail, you're still met with a lot of resistance. And that can be really frustrating, right? So when we continue to operate at this low level of self-awareness, we then get the benefit or lack thereof of feeling misunderstood and frustrated when it comes to our team on a regular basis and the response that we get from them. Number two common kind of sign or symptom that you get from staying and operating in this place of low self-awareness is that you get this, excuse me, struggling to receive feedback without being defensive. And a huge part of leadership and management is collecting perspectives from others, right? Collecting perspectives from your team so that you can ideally puzzle those together and create a better environment for everybody, right? But if you are operating from a place of low self-awareness, you can become really defensive when you have team members that come to give you feedback and to share that feedback with you. And that can be an issue because then it stunts the communication that happens. It doesn't create this open flow where people feel like they can come to you with any issues or things that are going on, which then causes repeat issues because people aren't telling you about them, right? And you're not finding out about them until that little tiny fire is this huge fire that you then have to take so much of your energy and dump into it to put it out. So again, when we stay and operate in this space, these are the outcomes that we get. Now, number three here, which is a very common sign of low self-awareness in management and leaders, is blaming external factors for consistent team issues. So you may find that you've got issues that are coming up time and time again, and instead of coming from a place of higher levels of self-awareness, we quickly find places to dump that blame so that we don't have to actually dig into and solve this issue effectively, because that takes a different level of self-awareness and we just don't have it. So we're unable to do that. So again, because of this blaming of external factors, we're basically offloading our feelings about what's going on and disregarding areas that we do have within our control to have impact, to make that change. We're kind of letting that go. We're letting that walk away. And in turn, repeating scenarios that are frustrating, right? Over and over and over again. And then number 4 is this making the same mistake or dealing with these reoccurring problems, right? That's kind of the theme here. It's one of those things where you continuously do the same thing and then you expect a different outcome. If you don't level up your self-awareness, your outcomes aren't going to change. If you don't educate yourself to help level that up, then you are going to get the same result time and time again. And kind of, you might go insane a little bit, right? Like you might be doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's really frustrating. And that can be a really tiring place to lead from and to be in every single day as a manager. So we've got to really start to think about leveling up this self-awareness piece so that we can actually see changes and get those desired results that we're going for within our company and with our team. Now, here's a little bit of a guided reflection to kind of, again, just help us really understand this impact of self-awareness when it comes to leadership. I want you to ask yourself, what's one leadership challenge you've faced repeatedly? And you might already have a few because we've kind of been talking about this so far already. So what is the one leadership challenge you've faced repeatedly? So time and time again, it keeps coming up. And could there be a pattern behind it? And let's go one step farther. Is it a pattern of yours? Right? We're focusing on creating more self-awareness. In order to change our behaviors, we need to become aware of them first. All right. And asking ourselves these questions can start to help us open up those doors of awareness so that we can realize the impact that we have on our team and we can make the changes that are necessary to bring up our team as a whole, to be a more emotionally intelligent manager, leader, owner, wherever you may fall on that scale of leadership. All right, now, so what you can't see is hurting your leadership, right? I want to talk about all of those unconscious habits, those triggers, and those biases that shape your leadership decisions. Because every single day, when things arise, when things come up, you run them through a filter that you have. And that filter is built on lots of different experiences and habits that you have and triggers that you've developed and biases that you have. And you run all your leadership decisions through those every single day, time and time again. Okay, now I want to give you an example of this because some of us, again, if we're operating from a place of lower self-awareness, we don't know what these are yet, right? We haven't questioned this. We haven't dived into this deep enough yet. So let me give you an example of what that might be. Okay, so a manager who micromanages without realizing it is creating a disengaged team. Okay, now really, when you think about this, here's a good way to start to recognize it or identify it. So let's say you aren't aware that you micromanage, but here's something that might cue you into it. Do you have team members who don't make decisions without you, who will refuse or avoid making decisions until they've gotten your okay? Will they not go kind of above and beyond because they're afraid of a slip up? Will they wait to make a lot of these decisions until you come and check in with them? This is a sign that you could potentially be micromanaging your team because they're completely disengaged from taking ownership of what's going on, and they will not take a step forward unless you are there to approve it. That is a very clear sign that you've got a team that's used to being micromanaged by you. So if some of you are thinking, oh no, I might have done this to a couple people, or oh, maybe that's why that person who, was new for a while, but's not so new anymore, still not making decisions on their own. This is a good sign that they're being micromanaged, right? So they're very disengaged because they feel like they don't have the authority to make any of those decisions, right? The environment has told them that they don't. Now, the key takeaway I really want you to recognize from everything that we're talking about today is that if you don't find these patterns in your behaviors, if you don't recognize these patterns in your actions and your thoughts, you're going to keep repeating them, and you're going to keep dealing with the same mistakes, fires, whatever you want to call them, over and over and over again. And then that just means that, again, you're dumping a lot of your energy into the same thing because of a lack of self-awareness, because you don't fully understand the impact of what you're doing has on your team. Okay, so why is emotional intelligence the missing piece? I'm going to tell you why. Because any type of career, business, work that you're doing, it's all person to person, right? At the end of the day, if we didn't have people, we don't have businesses. And everything that we do comes down to our skills in managing our people, right? If you were a leader, or let's say you're really skilled in your position before you moved up to management, you might have been really great at managing yourself and managing your own tasks, and you were a master in that, and your employers or whoever it is said, hey, I want that person in a leadership position, and moved you up. A lot of the time we get moved up because we were these taskmasters, but now all of a sudden we're not just in charge of us anymore, right? We're in charge of our entire team, but we were not given the skill set to deal with a whole team of people. And we don't know how to hand that off to other people. And emotional intelligence is really the missing piece, right? It's really just the key to unlocking that deeper self-awareness and breaking those limiting patterns that we have, those limiting biases, those limiting habits that we have set in place, and really elevating who we are as a leader in our team and in our space. So with that in mind, I want you to really, as you move forward with this, start to really address and think about the things that you could change today that could make an impact on your team long term, that could make an impact on the culture in your workplace, that could make an impact and in oh my gosh, I'm losing my words here, in how you show up, and then what the results are of that, right? Emotional intelligence really is the thing that's going to help you level up. And the way I like to go about it, that I find is the most effective for people to learn more emotional intelligence quickly, is a 4-step Elevate EQ process. The first step is self-awareness. That's why this is the #1 mini course, right? Number 2 is self-management or regulation. Number 3 is social awareness. And number 4 is relationship management. So it's 4 steps that you go through to elevate that, and you build on each one, right? Now, some of us might be stronger in one area than another already, but it's still great to expand in every area as you go, because then each area is going to be easier as you move forward. Okay, so now what do you do next, right? With all this information that you have, and you realize that, yes, this is something that's impacting my ability as a leader. How do I fix it? Well, with anything at all, any skill set that you need to learn when you move into a different role, any kind of, oh, what do I want to say here? Promotion, any kind of job change, you need to educate yourself, right? You need to collect the information you need so that you can start behaving differently, right? So educate yourself. A great way to do this is with my Mastering Management with Emotional Intelligence course. It's going to guide you through that 4-step process and help you become a more emotionally intelligent leader, and give you a great foundation to really get the ball going and take some actionable steps to start having a better impact on your team immediately. It's a 3-hour course. It's on demand now, which is really great. So you can do it at your own pace. I recommend watch an hour each week. And that's really going to help you when it comes to applying the skills that you learn, because there's so much in there for you to absorb and use that you want to make sure you take it, digest it, and apply it. Because when you see it applied, then that's where that growth really happens, right? That's where that rubber meets the road. That's where you start to understand why this makes an impact in your career, in your profession, in your environment that you're trying to cultivate. So anytime that you feel like there is an area in which you are weak, I always recommend you educate yourself, apply what you learn. A lot of people don't do this piece, and then you see the growth. Some of us educate ourselves and we expect to see growth, but if you don't apply it, you're not going to reap the rewards. So always, 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 I'm a big advocate on applying what you learn to really start to grow. Now I'm just having a look. Oh, great. Kept it under 30 minutes for you. So that's excellent. If you ever want to be in touch, or you ever have any questions at all about professional emotional intelligence, I'll leave my email below. Email me anytime. I'm happy to answer any questions for you in regards to leveling up your emotional intelligence. I hope you found this helpful today. And I really, really hope to see you taking your leadership effectiveness to the next step and really starting to master management with emotional intelligence.